hang on.
Where's Jake? We
Jake's
still having
here.
trouble with YouTube? Oh, good, good.
Jim's okay?
Jim, you there?
I am here. Thanks.
I'm gonna call you a little bit earlier than I did last time, all right? I'd like to call the village board meeting for the Village of Cary for Tuesday, February 16, 2016 to order with roll call, please.
Kraus,
Here.
McAlpine. Here. Dudek.
Here.
Cavelli. Here. Chapman.
Here.
And I'd like to make a motion to allow Jim Kostler to attend the village board meeting via teleconferencing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Welcome, Jim. Please join me in the
Thank you.
Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll now move to the open forum where the public is invited to make an issue-oriented comment on any public matter of public concern not otherwise on the agenda. I don't believe we have anybody signed in. Did you have anything to say? Thank you. We'll go ahead and close open forum. I have a few things on Mayor's report. First, I'd like to recognize Brian Simmons on his 1-year anniversary. I cannot believe it's been 1 year already. My gosh, where's the time gone? But you know what you get?
Oh.
Right.
Come on up here, Brian. We're gonna give you the last 24 karat gold.
Oh. Stick 'em.
Well, congratulations on the year. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. You've taken us to another level, and we appreciate everything you do for the village of Cary. Thank you. Chris, did you have anything to share with us?
Thank you, Brian, for your
Where's
service. We're
Rob?
glad to have you on our team. Congratulations on your 1-year anniversary.
Thank you much. Appreciate it.
A few more things to just kind of get people caught up with. We have once again been awarded excellence in our financial accounting, and I'd like to give Mary Ventrella and her finance department staff kudos to say thank you very much. I think this is the 16th year in a row that the village has been awarded this from the Government Financial Officers Association. So that's a great achievement for our finance department. Just goes to show you how dedicated our staff is to us. Couple other things. We had a great attendance at the Chamber of Commerce's State of the Community. Brian, I'd like to thank you very much for helping me with that presentation. It went over very well. A lot of great information, a lot of positive feedback. Thank you to Trustee McAlpine and Trustee Kostler for attending on the behalf of the village board. It was a fun afternoon. And on another note, I don't know if many of you know that I'm also on the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus for Housing and Community Development, and I attended our board meeting last week, and coincidentally, it was all on senior housing. And I just kind of wanted to give you some takeaways on the senior housing that we had. That just some of the, I will be forwarding the PowerPoints that we had through this. But our aging population is becoming more and more prevalent in our society. The fun fact that there are more people over 65 years of age than there are under 15 right now. So that's a huge number right there. And part of the committee that I'm on, that what we were discussing is about looking for opportunities for our seniors. And it was discussed that we have such a lack of that municipalities need to be more aggressive in looking for places to have their seniors reside. As a matter of fact, a lot of municipalities are sacrificing commercial places centrally located in town so that senior housing can be effective, because seniors like to be part of the community. They don't like to reside in the outskirts of town. They find that it's a great economic development tool, having seniors located in close proximity to all of the shopping that they have, that they can get all their services. So I found this very interesting and timely as to what we're working on. So I will be forwarding you all the information that I have from that the presentation that we had. It's so important to our state right now that they're actually thinking of forming a special task group to help offset that. So I'll keep you posted on that. Other than that, let's get on with the regular business.
The trip to Springfield?
Pardon me?
The trip to Springfield?
Oh, I'm leaving for Springfield in the morning. I have an action-packed 2 days. We will be meeting with all of the top legislators. We are, from the moment we get there, I will be busy. I'll be leaving around 5 o'clock this morning, or tomorrow morning. I was invited also to be part of Governor Rauner's budget address, so I'll be in the chambers with them as well. We will also be having meetings with all of the, as I had said, all the other legislative leaders, as well as we'll be capping off our meeting tomorrow at 11:15 with a meeting with Governor Rauner. So I'm pleased to represent the Village of Cary on that. We will be talking about many of the different things that we've discussed in the past, that are discussed in the past that are important to us, such as the LGTF. In our budget packet here, or the consent agenda, we have what our legislative agenda is for McCog. It totally aligns in with what the village is looking for and some of the concessions that may be looking for, for instance, the prevailing wage, which is something that is very important, that if we can look at, being able to have a little bit more flexibility when it comes to that. So I'll give you a report when I come back as to what we're doing. So it should be a really good event.
One other update, we're working on it overnight. We're attempting to schedule a meeting with the Illinois Commerce Commission within the next 2 days regarding the Metro Station project while the mayor's in Springfield. Likely staff will be on conference call. The reason is because we're continuing to work to engage with the Union Pacific Railroad on some of the land acquisition issues that tie to the project, and we need some higher level attention from folks to get them to come to the table with us. As has been indicated to you in your reports, we're out for proposals right now for architect and design services for the train station. Bids are going to be received in the coming weeks. That will require significant analysis as well as some scoring on behalf of the best proposals. But before we can desire to bring to you a recommendation with respect to that award of work, we'd like to have some summary viewpoint from Union Pacific about the land issues that are related. So we'll be spending a significant amount of time over the next month getting that accomplished. So I want to just indicate that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving forward, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items number 1 through 8. I've been asked to table item number 4 for additional conversations on the March 1st, either committee meeting or board meeting. Is there anything else that anybody else wants tabled or pulled off on that? And in addition to that motion, I'd like to recognize that the minutes for the village board meeting for February 2nd, 2016 are as amended.
So moved.
Pardon me?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Cosler,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Dudek,
Yes.
Cavelli,
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
I will entertain a motion to approve Resolution R16-02-07 to authorize a collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Cary and the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council Lodge number 231 for the term of May 1st, 2015 through April 30th, 2019.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Mayor. Chief Patrick Finland and I will give you a brief presentation of the deal terms that are in your packet for your consideration of this agreement. As your memo indicates, the chief and I, representing the Village of Cary and the direction of the Village Board of Cary, have been in negotiations with the Fraternal Order of Police, FOP, Labor Council Lodge 231 since the springtime on a successor agreement. Their agreement with the village, which was negotiated starting May 1 of 2012, expired April 30, 2015. As was directed by this board through budget workshops and the adopted budget May 1st, of 2015, the village developed a list of economic and non-economic goals and objectives for the bargaining process and has spent a number of sessions over the past months working with the Labor Council and their representatives locally, Officers Fatzinger, Fetzer, Sartori, and Williamson, on this agreement. The discussions were productive. We, from time to time, had some periods of gap in the discussions as the village determined and continued to monitor the state condition. As we know, that's not resolved yet and don't know ever when that will be. But the objectives of this was to work on a multi-year deal that was fair to the labor union as well as to the village board and its taxpayers. We believe we've accomplished that within the goals that you outlined for us. This is a fairly substantial agreement in terms of progress. One of the goals of the labor union was to look at their compensation relative to the internal and external comparables, primarily external comparables. We believe we've reset the range to a schedule that does some benefit to the village as well as the employees. We were concerned about recruitment at the entry level of the officer rank. As far as our starting pay, it was in the $48,000 range. Through this agreement, it's been raised to $55,000. We think that'll be helpful as we recruit in a competitive market for police officers in this environment. We reset the step scale to a more modern scale, more reflective of their comparables. We eliminated what previously was essentially a longevity step at year 15, which was a concern of the village. We took a hard look at not just resetting the wages to what we felt was appropriate, and then in years 2, 3, and 4, years 2 they increased 2%, year 3 2%, year 4 2.25%. As you're aware, there are steps within the plan. As you heard earlier tonight in the committee, we have a number of officers that are newer to our ranks and are moving through the steps. And so that in year 1 is a significant part of some of the wage adjustment in that one-off year. As we reset the steps, there was some movement there. But I want to indicate from a health insurance standpoint, the progress the village continues to make in working collaboratively with our employees. As I started here 4 years ago, one of the goals of the board was to, and has continued to be, asking for additional contributions from employees for health insurance and continuing to revisit our health insurance model to make sure we're being effective stewards of the taxpayer dollars. We've continued to do that. By the end of this agreement, they'll be at 24% for their PPO contribution, which I'm not aware of another suburb in the area that is at that level. We also reset the HMO and continue to invest in that as a good tool. That was a new plan that the village board added, the prior village board, and approximately a third of our headcount has taken that throughout the village. Significant number of police officers. It's about 20% less for the village and 20% less for the employee. So we've tried to do some, we've tried to make some headway there, and we believe we have. There's a number of housekeeping items that were addressed through the discussion that are indicated in your memo. There were some tweaks to defining various patrol shifts regarding detectives and SRO, school resource officers, some housekeeping done regarding high school events and how that time is assigned. We made some headway trying to create a benefit package for employees that makes sense in this environment. We looked at maternity, paternity, adoption leave, which is a benefit that was added and bargained in this contract and we'll look at for other groups. And that has been well received by the employees, as well as we looked at a catastrophic leave policy for personnel that can use their sick time in very isolated incidents that are unique to themselves and their dependents. Random drug testing has been added for up to 4 times a year in the contract, which was a major goal of the management team. As I mentioned, we made some adjustments to compensatory time for work hours that were essentially for special assignments. We're asking them to take pay instead of compensatory time, which is an important goal of the department. We made some modifications to field training officer stipends, OIC stipends, and intern ride-along stipends. We looked at the uniform allowance to modernize it, and very importantly, separate from the meal period review that was done, one of the more important things that was, I think, a mutual agreement, which I was I think on behalf of you and the village proud of, we're going to have department performance standards for officers, which is fairly groundbreaking for us. And we're going to do it in a way that's with labor agreed to. And this contract lays out a schedule, which is fairly aggressive by April, to have in place performance standards for what they do on their job, which we talked about at length. There was a lot of discussion in the last 3 months about refining the details associated with it. And, I think we're going to have a schedule that is enforceable, but it's going to be fair. And I think will be looked at by other suburbs over time. I think the 4-year agreement meets your goals. I believe that it does. It would be retroactive to May 1st of 2015 and carry through April 30th, 2019 for your 19 police officers of the village. And myself and the chief would be very happy to answer any questions that you have tonight.
Any questions?
Chris, I was looking, and there were several references. I'm talking about the language that says that the police officers, when they're doing union business, they won't be on village time. There was like 3 places in there. I couldn't find it specifically.
Yes, the provision that was discussed by the board later in the process, we believe addresses your brought forward request, and I can highlight for you offline.
That's fine.
And that was,
Section 7.6.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
called release time.
There were 3, and then I just wasn't sure which one of them addressed.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
that was added along the process, and we appreciated your continued dialogue with us along the way, and both sides made modifications and dealt with each other as professionals. So.
Any other comments?
I think you guys did a great job with this, really addressing a lot of the things that, with someone being new, a lot of the things I heard coming up, it appears that you guys really worked hard at making some compromises and yet identifying the things that you really felt you needed to have in there. And having a 4-year agreement, I think, is phenomenal.
Nice job, Chief. Roll call, please.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Kozler,
Yes.
Cavelli,
yes,
Dudak.
Yes. Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve Resolution R16-02-09, authorizing the village administrator to execute a janitorial services contract for the first contract period from April 1st, 2016 through April 30th, 2017, with up to 3 optional 1-year extensions to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder, Perfect Cleaning Service Incorporated, Chicago, Illinois, in the amount of $22,150. It is understood that this award is contingent upon approval of the fiscal 2016-2017 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Eric,
Thank you.
brief overview.
Sure, this is one of the fruits of our labor with regards to joint purchasing that the village has aggressively been pursuing with a lot of our neighboring agencies. This contract was joint bid with Lake in the Hills, so we were able to take advantage of some scales of economy to get janitorial services for our 3 main facilities, Village Hall, Police Department, and the Public Works Administrative Offices. Services include just general cleaning as well as some other periodic services like stripping and sealing wax floors, exterior, interior windows, and so forth. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I just have a real, probably, I'm going to go with it's maybe an ignorant question here, but when we're doing this joint bidding, because it's something relatively new to me with the economies of scale, which I think is phenomenal, what would happen? It's not contingent upon if Lake in the Hills agrees to this or doesn't agree to it. Is it, it just goes out that way, but it doesn't matter who takes it and who doesn't take it?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we've worked with the
Okay.
Village of Lake in the Hills and all of our joint partners.
Right.
There's a specific provision in these joint bids that essentially the bidders are aware going in that each municipality has the right to adjust or decline their portion of the joint bid contract.
Sure. I assume
Most
that, but
cases
I
that
just
doesn't
wanted to
happen.
make sure.
Sure. Question.
And I believe this is the first one for McHenry County tonight to be considered for approval.
That's great.
Roll call, please.
Chapman,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
Kozler,
Yes.
Dudak,
Yes.
Cavelli.
yes,
Thank you. Moving along to administrator's report.
Before I go into my report, I'd like to turn the mic over to Trustee David Chapman for a brief update on the McHenry County Conservation District Conservation Congress.
Thank you, Chris. fellow board members, the McHenry County Conservation District and the Village of Cary have a long, good history of working together. And I had the privilege and honor of attending 2 weekends ago the first ever McHenry County Conservation District Congress. Say that 10 times real quick. It was a full day. We had a director of the National Park Service. We had environmentalists of every stripe available. There were presentations in breakout rooms on different subjects such as clean water, public information. But it was just a great day of presentations and really celebrating the fact that McHenry County Conservation District is a trendsetter and a huge proponent of open land preservation. Good use with farmers was talked about a lot. There were representatives from Pheasants Forever and Ducks Unlimited who worked closely with the Conservation District. And so it was a great day, a lot of information, and it also was a good chance to network because we will be having opportunities in the future to possibly work with the Conservation District and helping us to develop our land over at the Myers Gravel Pit. One of the things we talked about was the fact that Felpro, a lot of our residents don't even realize that it's there, and they may drive by it. So the MCCD offered to help send us some press releases, things that they do that we can put into our newsletter to help let our residents know about the opportunities there for recreation. The final act of the day was the signing of the McHenry County Conservation District Congress Declaration, and all of the representatives that attended did have that. And so I'm going to present that to you, Mr. Mayor, and then maybe we can get a frame later. But sure. On behalf of McHenry County Conservation District, we say thank you to Cary.
Thank you for representing Cary.
Absolutely. It was a great day, and I encourage everybody to get involved and get out and go out to those spaces. There was one comment that was made, and I was very surprised. The McHenry County Conservation District is the only entity that has ever gone to the public for a referendum in good times and in bad, and they have never lost one referendum yet. So our residents, not only in the county, but also in Cary, support the work that the Conservation District is doing and the effect that it has for our families in our area. So thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Trustee Chapman. A couple other updates on behalf of the Community Development Department. As the board's aware, we've had a fairly active Board of Zoning, Planning, and Appeals agenda, and that pattern continues into the spring. Wanted to give the members of the public and the board members a quick update on a couple cases coming down the pike that we're now aware of. February 25th will be the next Board of Zoning, Planning, and Appeals meeting. There is a proposal for a garage expansion on the St. Barnabas Lutheran Church property off Cary Algonquin Road. You may be aware that that is the Cary Grove Food Pantry. So that'll be on the agenda on the 25th, as well as a project regarding a new business in Cary opening called Mathnasium in the Jewel Shopping Center complex. So that's on the 25th agenda. At this time on March 10th, the case regarding Pearl Development and the senior housing project that was previously proposed and sent back to the Board of Zoning, Planning, and Appeals is set to be here in this room on March 10th. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. I also wanted to indicate a couple things regarding last Thursday night's case regarding the amendment to the conditional use permit for Meyer Material. As you are aware, I believe 65, 70 residents attended, and a number of hours of testimony and feedback that was provided. By 4-1, the motion was requested for denial. But I wanted to clarify for the record one item that came out subsequent to the meeting that was incorrect. The statement was made in some of the recent media that supermajority would be required of the village board when the matter comes forward, and that's not correct for this specific case. So I just wanted to make that point clear for the record. With respect to when that will be scheduled, it was announced at the meeting that what we would classify as per se, a first reading is penciled in for your March 15th board meeting, and I emphasize the penciled in aspect. I hope to have conversation with representatives of Meyer Material tomorrow to further flesh out some of the open-ended questions that were brought forward that need to be answered, more feedback, and just building some of the answers to questions on behalf of the village board this week. So I should, through my update, be able to update you later this week on what may be in Penn's schedule. I wouldn't expect you to consider this for a final decision on the night of the first reading. I don't necessarily advise that at this point. I think you're going to have significant testimony from the public. The staff is going to need to assess venue for that series of meetings. So I think it's probably a two-night discussion. So I just wanted to set that forward. Their schedule is what it is. As you know, they've got a permit condition that expires on June 1st, but you need to do your due process and make a good decision for the community. So I'll continue to dialogue with you regarding your specific individualized trustee questions and comments with respect to that over the coming weeks. But I wanted to share that for the public, and that's my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Chris, can
Yes.
can you just clarify
Sure.
why this would need a simple majority as opposed to a supermajority with a negative recommendation?
Jake, can you come to the mic and talk to us a little bit about the specific case?
Excuse me, I think I defer to Attorney Simon on this one.
The statutes only require a supermajority vote to overcome a negative recommendation for a variance application. This is a special use application, and so neither local ordinances nor state law require a supermajority when the Board of Zoning and Appeals has a negative recommendation on that type of application.
Okay.
So it was misreported in the paper.
Okay,
I mean, that
I
was
did
why I brought it
notice
up
that, so
solely.
I was
Yeah.
curious. Okay.
And we had calls on Monday from the zoning board chairman and others on the zoning board because they had that understanding, and we just, I mean, somehow it just ended up that way. And I spoke with our reporter, and it was just an honest mistake. So we just wanted to make sure that's clear for the public.
My question is, the current ZPA members, were most of them around when this went through originally?
If you're asking me if most were, I believe that the answer is yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I'm just curious, do we know, if we don't know now, if you could find out what the vote was when it was originally put in front of them? And for those members that are part of the ZPA today, if you could just highlight, at least for me, I'm curious what the individual votes were this time around.
When it was considered previously in 2011, when Meyer first had asked for their extension, at that time, I'm pretty confident that it was a unanimous no. So everyone on the zoning board had voted no.
In 2011, that's
2011.
correct.
In 2008.
28 was
He's
the
asking at the
5-2.
beginning of the
In 2008,
When it first came to town.
when it first came to town, I don't know definitively on that, since that was before my time, but we can certainly look into that and get back to you.
Okay, thanks.
And at last, Chris, since you're talking to them, residents have asked if they could go on those tours again. That was a pretty good idea. And just ask them when they think that they might be able to start offering the residents the chance to tour the operation.
What I would suggest immediately on that is please forward to me any contact information for a resident that would request a tour, and I will personally make sure that that occurs. So if somebody has a request, tell them to email me, and I'll relay that on to Meyer, and we'll set those up one off. I don't think that they would have an issue with that. They just need to schedule it. Any other questions about Meyer? I know Trustee Kostler was able to be at the meeting. I believe Trustee Chapman was able to be at it. I don't know if there's any feedback from any board members or questions that you have of me that you'd like me to ask the petitioner. Anything else that comes to mind? If you don't have it tonight, let me know offline.
I think I've passed along the suggestions that the residents over in Fox Trails have given that would make it more palatable. So.
Department head reports. Chief, you have something for us?
Your packet contained information related to January statistical information from the police department. Generally, traffic enforcement increased over December, but there was a decrease in enforcement as related to driver license status, that being suspended, revoked, or no valid driver licenses. Increases across the board as it related to business checks, subdivision checks, and miles traveled as compared to December, with the miles traveled almost 900 more in January. The traffic crashes saw a significant decrease of 35.9% over 2015, from 39 to 25. When you compared it to December, there was an increase of 2 incidences from December to January. But again, I think that the relatively decent weather is playing a part in that, and I would hope that perhaps our increased traffic enforcement has something to do with that as well. As it relates to the domestic violence issues, we had 14 domestic disputes, and 4 parties were assisted with our Turning Point advocate. The checks for well-being were saw an increase significantly over January of the same time last year. And there was a significant increase in the number of parking citations that are written for overnight parking. Significant, in fact. It went from 79 in 2015 to 175 in 2016. So there's been a emphasis on the enforcement of that over the period of January, specifically as it relates to snow removal operations and things of that nature. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Chief, I'll just reiterate, we had asked a question, there was some concern about a post office postal issue, and the postmistress has not yet gotten back to you. I just wanted to say that on the public record for the residents.
Yeah, what Trustee Chapman is referring to is there was some dialogue on a social media site related to allegations of perhaps reduced service levels, I'm going to say it that way, from post office personnel, and I forwarded that information to the postmaster. She had received them, but I haven't heard anything back yet in regards to any follow-up or feedback.
Thank you.
I just have a question, comment, whatever, however you want to classify it, and I may be in the minority on this. Is it necessary that we have these statistics reported to us monthly? Could we get them quarterly?
That's definitely up to you. You recall as we transitioned from a police committee to committee of the whole, and new chief, we were wanting to be flexible with data based on board members' requests. Certainly could do it quarterly. We try to give you, from a department head standpoint, we're rotating every other meeting. 1, 2 of them is up with some data to talk through any questions that you might have. Sometimes the reports are helpful. You see the weekly reports that come out as well. Solely up to you what you would request. You do it either way.
Yeah, I'll play devil's advocate and say, is it just that you don't want them? But I mean,
I said I was in the minority.
no, but I mean, just because it's onerous, it's a lot there every month, but maybe the residents might find that, to be interesting monthly rather than quarterly.
And I'll tell you that I try to focus on things that I think people have an interest in, or they might have a public safety nexus to. I did try to address the quarterly function by giving you a couple months of data so you can compare it. So, and I think this December I did do a year-to-date type of summary, and this is very, summary information. And if there's any additional information you'd like to see, let me know. We're trying to capture more information as it relates to the manner in which information is reported within the department. But again, I started in 2014, and we're still trying to capture that information, and I'll tell you that I'm very data-driven. So I like to see that information, and I like to compare it to previous years, and I know that Deputy Chief Fillmore has put in place a case management system that shows the number of days that a case is open and things of that nature. And I know there's always a little bit of resistance when there's change. So, you know, we're working through that as well.
I guess, and then I'll just complete my thought. And again, I may absolutely be in the minority. If there's time that you're spending on this to do it every month, from my perspective, if it was an hour, I'd rather that hour be spent on something else. I don't see a lot of benefit for me personally. And I've never had anybody ask me in 10 years about any of the police report statistics that have been compiled. So to me, your time is very valuable. And I don't, if it only takes you an hour to do this, I'd rather have you spend an hour on something else. But that's, again, my individual perspective.
Any other comments?
Chief, are we still making progress on the home burglaries case? I
Well,
don't want
working on
to give
it.
anything out, but
There was two issues that I had brought forth before I mentioned salon burglaries. And there was a news conference from Northbrook Police Department, Chief Warnick. They've indicated that there were significant amount of them, I think 40 or 50 of them that they're tracking right now. So, and one of ours is one of those burglaries, but again, you know, it's something that's been occurring from the Indiana border up to, you know, the northern suburbs. So that's one of them. And I haven't heard anything further as it relates to the residential burglaries that occurred on Bell and
Claire.
Claire, correct. Thank you.
Well, back to I find the information useful. I think it's good to compare it. At least we stay on top of things that are going on in the village. It's our responsibility, you know, especially from a policing point of view. People always comment about stuff like that to me. So I not that I enjoy it, it's a good read, it's good information to have. Do you find it burdensome to be putting that together? Do you think your time would be spent?
No, you know, our record staff does a real good job of giving me summary information, and I try to pick out the highlights from that summary information, especially as I try to indicate it in the last paragraph where, you know, there's a reported burglaries and what they, you know, what are targets of, you know, in this particular instance, we spoke about the two residential burglaries and a commercial burglary.
All right, thank you, Chief. Eric, you got anything for us?
Just one quick thing. For the March 1st Committee of the Whole meeting, staff's going to be presenting some of the preliminary findings from our consultants on some conceptual streetscape ideas for downtown to help us prioritize and plan for our multi-year capital programs and the budget workshop. So I look forward to seeing that discussion at the next meeting.
Thank you, Eric. Any future agenda items and discussion by the village board?
I just have a question regarding the weekly update we received. Can you update us on the Miller property? What's going on with the sign there? Is there anything?
At a very high level, I will. The bottom line is Attorney Simon is engaged in some dialogue with representatives of the property owner regarding interpretations of state and federal law as it relates to our ordinance. And we're looking at in isolation to make sure that our ordinance is in compliance with the law. And so that's what's going on with respect to that issue.
So was the adjudication ticket issued then or not
It has
yet?
not been issued at this time. A warning was provided, and pending this discussion, further decision will be made upon that in the coming days. But there has been dialogue over the last 2 days with representatives of the property owner. So just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Could we have the sign location as an agenda item on the probably Committee of the Whole?
In terms of what now?
The sign location of having that sign on that property?
And when you say that sign, do you mean
The one
which
that's in
sign?
violation?
Like the Lake Julian
Yeah.
sign?
I will look at that issue in detail with Attorney Simon, and I understand the request.
Thank you. Yeah.
As long as Kim brought up about the sign, we received, did everybody receive a copy of that memo from Liberty Advertising about their attorney's response regarding
Was it
the,
a recent?
No, I
that we
didn't.
received? I didn't get anything recently.
Here's the bottom line on that. As the board had requested of myself and Attorney Simon, in the last 2 days, we received some response regarding the questions about the ordinance. And so they've given us a proposal. Adam had a nice conversation with their representatives today on the phone with some feedback regarding their request. We're still somewhat of a distance between the sides with respect to how to write this. But there's, I think, from what I heard today, some good collaboration now. So I'm hopeful to bring that to you here as soon as I can, but I think it's important to get an ordinance in place that the majority of the board is generally agreeable to before we hold a public hearing to then hear public comment. So Attorney Simon is carefully assisting us with that right now. I'm glad to hear that there's some dialogue going on, so.
Well, the fact that they replied makes me feel a little bit better about us withholding the adjudication, ticket. So thanks for that. At least they're talking.
I have one thing real quickly. At the luncheon with the State of the Village address, I did have a couple different people come up to me, some people from the fire district and the library district, and just kind of ask, would we possibly entertain extending an invitation to them, whether it's annually or semi-annually, that those boards, one of the things we're trying to do is work in cooperation with our different boards. And I think it would be a great idea to somehow, again, I'm not saying how often, but at some point, maybe invite the Park District in to give us an update so that, a lot of people do come to us for information about the village, even though it's not directly pertaining to us. But I think it's great to keep that open communication line and show that we're looking to collaborate with each other, all the different boards. So I'd like to see if we could discuss setting something up and getting something on where we rotate them in, or however we want to do something like that, just to keep those lines of communication open.
Trustee Dudek has also asked for that, and we're in the process of scheduling some of the different jurisdictions. The mayor and I had a meeting with Park District on some master plan business here a week before last, and the invitation has been extended, and we'll get those slated on your agenda. My goal would be to have at least quarterly, have District 26, 225,
Right.
Fire District, Park District. If that's the direction that I have, I believe, so I'm glad to do that.
Great.
Eric, one last thing. Sorry, I didn't copy it. The community noticed that the lights came down today from downtown. There was nothing but positive comments about it, and I asked them to direct their comments and requests for the year-round lights to the village and speak up, and we'll see where we can go.
Sure. That will be part of our discussion in 2 weeks as well with the
That's
street.
great. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss purchase or lease buy of real estate.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I will entertain a motion to return from executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good night, Jim.